What if every ordinary moment of your life became a sacred meeting with the divine? What if your morning worries dissolved before they even formed, because you woke up knowing you were not alone? What if fear slowly lost its grip? Not because life became easy, but because you learned to walk with God, step by step, breath by breath, day after day? Paramahansa Yogananda once said, "To live with God is to live in unshakable peace, even while the world trembles." In this video, we will explore what truly happens when you choose to live every single day with God, not as a belief, not as a ritual, but as a living, breathing relationship. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear may quietly change the way you see your life forever. Before we begin, if you feel drawn to spiritual wisdom, inner awakening, and timeless truths from masters like Paramahansa Yogananda, subscribe to Inner Divine. This channel exists to remind you of who you truly are beneath fear, doubt, and noise. Also, as you listen, comment below with just one word: presence. It helps the video reach those who are silently searching, just like you once were. And if this message resonates, share this video. You never know whose soul needs it today. Now, let us begin. Many people think living with God means withdrawing from the world, renouncing responsibility, abandoning ambition, or isolating oneself in silence. Yogananda taught the opposite. To live with God is not to escape life, but to enter it more fully, more consciously, more courageously. You still work. You still love. You still struggle and grow. But something changes at the center of you. Life no longer feels like a battlefield. It becomes a classroom for the soul. When you live without God consciousness, fear becomes your constant companion. Fear of loss. Fear of failure. Fear of being alone. Fear of the future. But when you live each day with God, fear does not disappear overnight. It simply loses its authority. Yogananda explained that fear exists only where divine remembrance is absent. When you remember God, even faintly, you remember that you are supported by an intelligence far greater than your problems. You begin to feel carried, even when the road is steep. One of the deepest wounds the human heart carries is the quiet feeling of being abandoned by life itself. Why me? Why did this happen? Why does life feel so unfair, so cold at times? Living with God does not answer every question the mind demands, but it gently dissolves the bitterness hidden behind those questions. You begin to sense that nothing arrives without purpose, that even pain carries a message meant to awaken the soul. As Yogananda reminded us, the soul understands what the mind resists. Living with God is not about constant chanting, rigid rituals, or repeating sacred words without awareness. It is about inner alignment, a quiet harmony between thought, breath, and action. You begin to speak with more care. You listen not just to words, but to silence beneath them. You pause before reacting, allowing wisdom to rise. Slowly, your actions turn into offerings. Work becomes service. Silence becomes communion. Each breath becomes a prayer. God is no longer someone you visit. God becomes the space in which you live. When you live without divine awareness, life often feels chaotic, fragmented, and uncertain. Events appear random, and struggles seem without meaning. But when you live with God, subtle patterns begin to reveal themselves. You start noticing signs you once ignored. Quiet synchronicities, unexpected help, doors opening at the right moment. And timing that feels strangely perfect. Not because life suddenly becomes magical, but because your awareness sharpens and deepens. As Yogananda taught, intuition is the language of the soul. And when you live with God, that language becomes clear and trustworthy. Living with God gently reshapes the way you love. You stop asking others to complete you, because you begin to feel whole within yourself. You no longer cling out of fear, nor try to control how relationships should unfold. Love becomes softer, freer, and more compassionate. You start seeing people not as obstacles or expectations, but as fellow travelers on a shared journey, each one carrying silent struggles and unseen wounds. Judgment slowly fades, replaced by understanding. Arguments lose their power. Drama dissolves into clarity. And in this new awareness, relationships no longer drain you. They begin to heal you. Pain still arrives. Loss still touches your life. Living with God does not shield you from hardship. But suffering, the inner collapse that once shattered you, begins to lose its power. Yogananda taught that suffering is not created by events themselves, but by our resistance to what life presents. As you live with God, surrender becomes natural. Not as weakness, but as quiet wisdom. You learn to say, even in uncertainty, I do not fully understand this moment, but I trust the process unfolding through me. And in that trust, you discover an unexpected strength. A calm that no circumstance can destroy. The world pulls at you every single day. Through constant news, strong opinions, and endless expectations. Living with God creates an inner anchor. A quiet center that remains steady even when everything moves. You no longer react instantly. You pause. You breathe. You respond with awareness. Silence becomes your refuge, a sacred space within. And from that stillness, clarity slowly emerges. As this inner balance deepens, the ego begins to soften. Yogananda taught that the ego is the greatest illusion. Living with God does not destroy the ego. It gently dissolves it. You stop proving your worth, stop comparing your journey, and stop competing with life itself. Instead, you begin to cooperate with the flow of existence. Humility arises naturally. Not from self-denial, but from deep self-understanding and inner freedom. Perhaps the greatest transformation of living with God is how you relate to death. Death no longer feels like an end, but a transition. You sense continuity beyond the body. Yogananda taught that the soul is eternal, unchanged by birth or death. This realization brings a quiet courage that no external security can provide. One day, without warning, you notice something subtle. You feel peaceful. For no reason. No achievement. No validation. No external success. Just joy. Yogananda called this the soul's natural state. Living with God removes the layers that hide it. Living with God does not give you a perfect life. It gives you a meaningful one. Challenges remain. Responsibilities remain. But despair disappears. Because you know, you are walking with the infinite. If this message touched something within you, it is not coincidence. It is remembrance. Remember, you do not need to become someone new to live with God. You only need to become present. If you wish to continue this journey, subscribe to Inner Divine. We share teachings that awaken, not entertain, that liberate, not distract. Comment below. I choose presence. And share this video with someone who needs peace today. Until next time, walk gently, breathe deeply, and remember, you were never meant to walk alone.